Hello and thanks for joining us. Today, the Feminist Superhero. From animation to documentary, welcome to our weekly film show.
The elephant in the room.
What elephant?
Mom's new job.
Skemmtilegt og umhverfi okkar sem valda hlýnun andrúmslofts og súrnun sjávar í raun glæpur gegn mannkyninu og öllu lífi á jörðinni.
Was waren deine Gedanken?
Ich habe nur gedacht, wie es mit mir, wie ich den Tod finde.
We're joined in the studio by our film critic, Lisa Nesselson. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Eve.
And today we have films with strong female characters, starting with The Incredibles 2. Now, 14 years ago, the animated story of an American family who had secret superpowers wowed the world over. Is the second instalment as good as the first?
Well, it's incredibly entertaining, although I'd say it falls just short of masterpiece. I wouldn't hesitate to call the director's Ratatouille a masterwork. This is merely a fine time at the movies with a wonderful undercurrent of feminist thinking and some intelligent questioning of the role that screens play in our lives. Now, if you can weave a brilliant story around the idea of a rat who dreams of being a chef, then why not weave a story around an even more outrageous idea like female gender equality, full equality for women, or at least women in the form of imaginary animated characters in a movie. When this film begins, taking up exactly where the last one left off, individuals with superpowers in a sort of retro America, they're called supers, are still illegal. Making an entire category of people illegal in the United States is already interesting, especially now.
Well, superheroes are known for wreaking havoc, breaking buildings and uprooting streets. Now, do the ends justify the means here?
Well, when the story starts, society definitely says no. Superheroes should just hang up their clingy costumes and behave themselves. When a wealthy brother and sister team decide that the moment is ripe to rehabilitate those supers, they pick Mom, alias Elastigirl, to go out and do the heavy stretching in helping the populace. And that means Dad, a muscle-bound dynamo of good intentions, well, he ends up staying home with their 3 kids.
Imagine that.
I got to speak to director Brad Bird and producer Nicole Grindle about the glut of superhero movies, let's call them that, in the interim, and how their animated film fits in.
I think that was on our minds, is that there was a landscape filled, and here we are just bringing another one out. But I think what separated our films from the others is that they are primarily about the family, and superhero genre is used to comment on that.
Girls, come on, leave the saving of the world to the men? I don't think so.
I've got to succeed so she can succeed, so we can succeed.
I get it, Bob. I get it. When was the last time you slept?
Who keeps track of that? Besides, he's a baby. I can handle it. I got this handled.
So, you good then? You got everything under control, right? What the?
Cookie. Cha-Cha want a cookie?
And you can watch the rest of Lisa's interview with Brad Bird online at france24.com. Usually in these stories, Lisa, there is a villain.
That's true, and we're not likely to run into, say, the Joker in our real lives. But it turns out that the villain here is already very much in our midst, both a good pun and a profoundish concept. There's a bad guy named Screenslaver, get it? Out to manipulate us via our propensity to get sucked into and then addicted to all our screens, be they TVs or computers or video game consoles or tablets or cell phones. I guess we should even add connected watches to that. I'd be pleased to hear that some of our viewers are addicted to the France 24 film show, but they better not be using their phones at the same time. Stop that. I won't be the first person to point out that there's something frightfully meta about a big corporation like Disney making sure that we consume The Incredibles 2 on every screen in sight so we can be warned about the danger of screens. Thank goodness that in addition to excellent animation, we have a strong vein of humor and positive portrayals of family ties. And I just hope that our artificial intelligence overlords in the near future will let us take time off from doing their bidding to watch this every so often.
Well, another film out this week in France with a strong, resourceful woman at its centre is Woman at War. It's set in Iceland. It grabbed almost universal praise when it made its debut in the Critics' Week sidebar at Cannes in May. Is the enthusiasm warranted?
Well, this is hands down the best Iceland, France, Ukraine co-production you will ever see. But flippancy aside, this is a startling, quirky, funny, and yet serious, brave story of an eco-warrior. I loved it. Hala, a choir director who is pushing age 50, rides her bicycle everywhere, smiles a lot, and just seems like the very model of an upstanding, self-reliant citizen. But she's leading a double life as a saboteur. When there's a power failure, it's probably due to one of her creative interventions to bring down electrical wires or one of those whole electrical pylons with a bow and arrow. The film is suspenseful, it's full of close calls, and it's also gorgeous to look at. See for yourself.
Now we see her there destroying public property. Is that a form of terrorism, Lisa?
Oh, well, the authorities certainly think so, and you can't blame them. But I'm reluctant to call her actions terrorism because her motivation is that she loves her country and its pristine landscape so much that she doesn't want to see them despoiled by industrial construction and also that sort of catch-all ugliness that goes under growth. The police are getting closer to figuring out who's behind all this, and complicating the matter is the fact that Hala's long-ago application to adopt a child from Ukraine has suddenly come through. So should she go on being an environmental renegade, or should she think about settling down and being a mom? The actress who plays Hala is considered a national treasure in Iceland, and I can see why. Woman at War was just announced as one of the finalists for the annual Lux Prize given by the European Union for the best European film of the year.
Excellent news. Moving on now to French thinker, author, editor, journalist and documentary maker Claude Lanzmann. Now, he remains a towering figure at the grand old age of 92. He's best known for Shoah, his 1985 documentary about the Holocaust. Some say it's the best film that has ever been made. Tell us about his latest documentary, Four Sisters.
Now, you don't have to read Proust. I am giving you permission to skip À la recherche de temps perdu, In Search of Lost Time. But I do think everybody walking the earth should take the time to watch Claude Lanzmann's Shoah, which you mentioned, the 10-hour-long documentary that renders irrefutable the reality of the Nazi program to exterminate millions of human beings. The director spent 12 years making it, 4 of them in the editing room. Lanzmann shot way more footage than he could incorporate even to that epic work, and he's been offering the world some of the interviews that were left out ever since. They were shot decades ago, mostly in the 1970s, but they have lost none of their power. Now, Lanzmann calls 4 unrelated female concentration survivors sisters because their experience of anti-Semitism carried to obscene and deadly extremes make them members of a ghastly sorority that nobody would set out to join. And what they have to say is riveting. Ruth Elias from Czechoslovakia, Paula Biren and Ada Lichtman from Poland, and Hannah Martin from Transylvania found themselves incredibly still alive at the end of World War II. Let's watch.
Von Weiterleben hat man schon nicht gedacht.
There must have been horrible scenes, no?
I could move for 2-3 days. I was just sitting stunned. I just couldn't move. And then I said, well, okay, you have to go on.
Now, there are few things more stunning than a life that statistically should have been stuffed out, but wasn't. The remains of camp survivor Simone Weil were just transferred to the Pantheon here in Paris. She dedicated her life to making the world a better place. Among her signature accomplishments, whether some people see it that way or not, is the law that bears her name, guaranteeing the right to a safe, legal abortion in France.
And that brings us to the re-release of French filmmaker Agnès Varda's odyssey of feminist friendship, which was made in 1977. One sings, the other doesn't.
Yes, abortion looms very large in this colorful and involving semi-musical about the lives of French women in the 1960s and 70s. The lifelong friendship between two women is forged when one lends the other money for a then illegal abortion. She's very young, already has 2 children, whose father is emotionally and financially unreliable. Work, coupledom, pregnancy, motherhood, and the spirit of solidarity are explored. 40 years later, it plays pretty much as a time capsule of how far we've come and how much still needs to be accomplished. Like I said, abortion looms really large in this tale. I literally cannot believe that Donald Trump and his supporters are rubbing their hands in glee at the prospect of making safe, legal abortion illegal in the USA. The tagline on the poster in the US 40 years ago is, "You are not born a woman, you become one," Simone de Beauvoir. And bringing our show full circle, Claude Lanzmann and Simone de Beauvoir were lovers for 6 years, despite him being 17 years younger than she was. Brilliant women can be sexy too.
Thank you very much for this show on female empowerment, Lisa. We're going to leave you with that. One sings, the other doesn't. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Mon corps est à moi, et c'est moi qui sais si je veux ou pas mettre bas, faire ce bas monde des enfants ou pas, être plate ou ronde, j'ai le choix. Mon corps est à moi.